Well, hi there. Today we're going to show you how to build this pergola step by step, how I do it, bare basics, DIY friendly. I built this in my own backyard with most of my tools being on the job site, seeing as how I did it on a weekend. So stay tuned and we're going to go step by step and try to cover everything. Okay, so now that the frame is up, we're going to put our deck boards down, but before we do that, I want to put my piles in the ground on each corner, and these are going to be a little bit of overkill to help support the 6x6 post for the pergola. That way the whole weight of the pergola isn't supported by the deck by itself. So we're going to drive these in. First thing we do is take the set screw out. That'll give us our saddle. So we have a 7 1/8 inch hole there. So what I do is I use the 1 inch Milwaukee impact, and I got a 1 inch bit that I shaved down just to fit right into the 7/8 hole. And we're going to put that in the ground by driving it in like a giant screw. So first thing we'll do here is find our lucky spot. Our 6x6 is 5.5 by 5.5, so we want that to be in the center. So I'll just measure from roughly the center of this post, 2 3/4. So once we're at the center there, 2 3/4, and then the same thing here, 2 3/4. That's pretty much bang on where that is. I am not using a hammer drill. That would be very dangerous, potentially break your wrists with the amount of pressure that this thing takes. So definitely a ratchet is what you have to use. What we want to do is make sure that the bottom of our joist and the top of our pile are level with each other. We're really close now. So let's try that. Wiggle that sucker out of there. All right, let me grab a level real quick. If the top of that is level with the bottom of this. So that's level there. That looks perfect to me. Pylex also has these adjustable saddles. They look like this. They come on a stand like this. So this normally goes on either a tough block or a concrete anchor, and this gives you that ability to adjust your height and saddle a post in. Keep the post off of the direct contact from the foundation. Now the cool thing is it's adjustable. Now, because we're adding a 6x6 into our corner, just to avoid the complications of having the wall of the saddle push our 6x6 out, this one, we could shape it as an L, where we come in like this, and that's where 6x6 goes in. We lag bolt our 6x6 into the wood, and we attach it into the steel as well. But before we go any further, I decided I want to joist tape this whole thing. The annoying part about that means that we're going to have to unfasten all the joists from this beam and run the tape underneath first, and then we can run the tape across all the tops of the joist. So what we'll do now is pull the screws, and then we'll run that tape. Big fucker. This is kind of setback that nobody wants to deal with, but we're not going to regret it because it's either now or never for the joist tape. And I might as well do it. I got a couple rolls in the garage. And you know what? It won't hurt. Just do it. Might get an extra 4 or 5 years out of the frame just from taping it. Okay, so I want to lift this up. Now, normally we don't like working backwards. Not normally, we never like working backwards, but I'm going to come up with a plan since I'm by myself here and just sort of create a jack really quickly without going searching for tools. Lift that end up. Now we'll tape this down. Okay, let's get a little extra. This is what happens when you don't plan ahead and you become indecisive like me. Is the joist tape matter in my own house? Not really. I'm only impressing myself, but at the same time, why not just do it? Do it for the people at home. Now we want to seal that on. That goes on there. You see that? Nice seal, weather seal, so that the wood will live longer than it normally would as just wood, if you know what I mean. And yes, this is where you start really having fun and you regret, you know, maybe it was overkill. Maybe it wasn't that important. Okay, so I think it goes without saying that you want to put your joist tape on before you finish your frame. You want to make sure you tape your beam before you put your joist on. I did not do that because originally I wasn't going to use joist tape. And then I changed my mind and thought, why don't we just do a quick little surgery and get the joist tape on after. And it's a bit of a pain, but honestly, what did that take me? 5 minutes? Not even. And this could make the thing last another 5 years. So now that it's done, certainly not the prettiest work, but it's done. Joist tape's all on, and now we're ready to take the lifts off, put the deck back on, and screw it back where it was so we can get back to where we started this morning. Ugh. What I want to do with the rim joist here first is I want to tape the rim joist like this first because we're going to be putting our fascia flush with the decking, and the rim joist is going to want that extra protection so it doesn't gather the water against the fascia and the deck board. Now this is only necessary to go around the outside fascia. Or rim joist, I should say, but in between the rim joist and the fascia, we just want to have this layer, extra layer of protection. We're going to build an envelope, so next we're going to go over it this way, and then we'll take this across. Okay, in order to build this envelope, we're simply going to do this little cut here, turn this in, turn this down, and you see how now if water does get in, it's going to flow past. That way the seam, I put this one on first, this one on second, that way the water flows down, where this way kind of like a shingle or kind of like building that envelope. Keeping the wrinkles out is best. I'm not the best at keeping wrinkles off of things. I suggest you use your delicate hands if you have them, if you can go to delicate mode. Or if you have a laborer with delicate hands, use him. But other than that, that's how I'm going to do the rim joist. That gives me the opportunity to put my fascia flush up, cover my decking, and that'll waterproof that fascia so that my rim joist doesn't rot out before anything else. I know that's a concern for a lot of people when doing this type of design. So now we're just going to cover the whole deck like that, and then we're ready to put deck boards down. This pile of lumber is actually the pergola I built for Beat the Bully. It has been deconstructed. I'm going to build it again here today, which we already know, with the way that I guess I would have built it if I had more time, and the way maybe it looked in my imagination. Okay. So we're starting with our corners. Make sure we're facing the right way. Let's get that in there. Miter's going the right way. Alrighty. This is a one-man operation right now. I'm just going to tack it in with the nail gun. Hey. That'll hold it for a hot minute. Throw a level on it. Make sure it's plumb. Any movement we're going to have to shim. Okay. Grab the trusty impact for high impact situations like this. Hammer that saddle in. We'll just hammer this into place. Slap one of these suckers in it. Simpson strong tie. Same thing here. Beautiful. Okay, once it's plumb, the nail gun was really just to tack it in. We're gonna go in with one of these suckers. On either side, sink them till they're flush. Bingo. And ain't going nowhere. We'll do the other 4 corners, and then we're gonna start to look like we have the pergola taking shape again. You can see this here. All right, so first thing we do, we know we're 16 on center. So I cut a piece of joist at 14.5 inches. That should fit between the cross here and here. Make sure it's flush. We don't want it to stick out and give us a hard time. Just tack it in for now. We'll put some legs in it when we're done. Bring that in there. Okay, now the purpose of this piece of blocking is when we have our deck board, we have to cut it into an L shape. If we cut it into an L shape, there'll be nothing for that corner to rest on. We need it there. And instead of putting another full joist, we just do a quick cross blocking. And throw a nail in it for good luck, but we'll leg it in as well. You want to do that. Then we'll tape this up real quick with more joist tape, and then we can start putting the deck boards on. Once the deck boards are on, we'll be able to put some ladders down and work safely overhead and get this pergola done. The pergola posts are up, the deck frame is done, the frame is taped up, completely ready to go. I'm going to put the deck boards on now before I continue with the pergola, just so it's a little bit easier for us to work with a couple ladders on the deck. So I'm going to start here, which is kind of our entry point, and I'm going to work my way back. That way if there is a rip board, it'll be back there and sort of out of the way. Okay, so we want to get a mark on either side first. Here, here, right there. I want to end it flush with the outside here, so I know that's my mark for the depth. Okay. And I always want to cut at least a 1/16 bigger than you need, because when you put this kind of wood under pressure, it just cracks, snaps off, and can be very frustrating if you spend a lot of time on a cut that's a little too snug. Follow our lines. Let's see if that fits. Have a look at that. Here, Brian. Brian. Now, obviously, if we're building furniture, those little burrs aren't going to be great. But building a pressure-treated deck at your own house. Oh, hi there. So normally we use a camo lever, but we don't have it. All right, so our deck boards are in, end to end. But right in the middle here, we're off by about 1/4 inch. Normally, I grab my camo lever and I lever it over, or a bow wrench. I don't have those with me. They're on site. I'm at my own house. It's a weekend. So the old school way, I would hammer a chisel or a pry bar into the joist and then wrench it over, but with all this joist tape, that'd be counterintuitive and kind of stupid. So we're just gonna make an old school fulcrum lever. Pop this in here, one nail. Make sure our screw's ready to go. Grab it here. You can watch this gap close before your eyes. That's it. And we send it home. I want to show you how to make the cut of all these boards without the track saw. You know, you've seen us use the track saw before, and we think the track saw is awesome. This is a pressure treated deck, so it's a great time to practice cutting with a regular circular saw, cutting that line. With your speed square or any device that'll really get you straight, we know our rim joist ends right there, so we know this is where we want to be. This joist tape is in the way a little bit, but we got to account for it anyways. Okay, I advise we go an extra 1/16 larger than what you need. Get on right where your mark is. Just stuff out of the way. You want to use a semi-permanent. I prefer the blue because it's not too permanent. Easier to wash off when you're done. The track saw is better, but this being a pressure treated job, why not? But my advice, if you're going to spend thousands of dollars on a high-end composite or PVC, just use the track saw. The track saw costs a lot less than the mistake you'd be making if you even sneeze while you're doing this. I'm doing a simple box step here. So what I do is I just built this by 11 inches outside to outside. That's 2 deck boards, really simple. Same width as the deck. We put it on here, we put it on here, and I know a lot of guys would just leave this like this and say, there's your step, okay? Unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna work. So what we do is we place piles where our joists are gonna go inside this box step anyways, and they're gonna be foundation to hold what's going to be beams to help hold this thing up so we can land the stairs. So the stairs, A, aren't sitting on the dirt, and B, are well supported, so that we can lift them off the ground and get them at that perfect level that we want for this project, and then we can do some landscaping afterwards to meet it. It's a lot easier than trying to deal with the uneven ground. So we drive these suckers in, forget about them. Bitch, fuck off. Okay. So I got this one to my mark here, leveled. The bottom is going to be where I want it. So I'm going to transfer it just with a level, really simple way of transferring. They have these nuts underneath where you kind of screw them down the thread and it becomes like an adjustable thing here. Now we got perfectly level there. Let's go across to the next one. Oh good, we're going to come up. That means I don't have to get the driver out again. And we'll just adjust this a little bit. A little more. And this is where we take the unevenness of the ground and we don't have to worry about it anymore. So that's perfect there. Right, we'll take our box, slosh it over, make sure it's lined up. This is going to act as a beam. It's going to go in between here and here so we can see what we're doing. We know this is where we want it. Going to mark here, 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 and here. It's pretty rudimentary. We'll do the same thing over here. All 3 of them. Mark them now. Okay, because the piles might shift or move by, you know, 1/4 inch here, 1/2 inch there, and it honestly doesn't make the world of difference because we made sure we're already over 16 OC for this kind of stair tread joist thing. Okay, all right, so now we'll just laminate a few of these together. That should do it. All right, so let's start putting this pergola together now that the deck is pretty much done. See if we can get these upper beams up by myself or if I need to call for help. So the judges mentioned that the pressure-treated lumber, the miters are going to open up, which I do agree with, and yes, they will. I was focused more on the fact that it was an indoor structure and it wasn't going to be outdoors, but now that it actually is outdoors, I'm going to do something about that. We're going to use the Simpson Strong Tie outdoor accents. These 90-degree L-straps are going to go and cover those miters, and we're going to use like a nice lag bolt as well. We're going to put these on all sides of all of the miter joints. And not only will it add a nice decorative look, but it'll add that structural hold that we need. Do these for all our joints on both sides of all our miter joints for this pergola. So let's get one set up so you can see how it's done. Comes with these decorative nuts that these structural screws go inside. Screws right in them like that. Gives it a real kind of robust, fancy look. We're going to do that today. So screw. And then you use your drill, send her home. Boom. And then we put the rest in, and it's history. Nailed it. Beautifully done. Okay, so look how good that looks, Brian. I'm going to do that on all sides, the entire pergola. Stay tuned. It's going to take me a while. Okay, so the original Beat the Bully pergola. We had a 2x6 running across the face and running across the back of the face sandwich, and that was our structural beam to hold all those members up. One thing I do agree with the judges is it looked bulky and it looked a little too commercial. So what we're going to do now is use 2x2s in strips of 3 and space them out, give it that more decorative look. One thing I have to point out that they said was the underneath was open, and then they suggested maybe cover that up. But I think we'd just be building a wooden trough for rainwater at that point. So I have to disagree with that, but we're going to keep going, see what we get in terms of the appearance, and make this thing look the way that I feel like it should have. You can do it. Give her. There you go. All right. Let's put a couple more of those. I think it's going to be a better look. It's going to add the same effect once they're all steered into place, take any of the wobble out of them. And look at that. That looks much more handsome than a piece of that looks much better than a piece of 2x6, I'll tell you that much right now. We're going to wrap it all the way around. Take our tags off, of course. We're going to wrap tags, and we're going to wrap all the way around. Ratting an extra couple on there. One down, 5 to go.
Your goal was just kind of get more shit up than your opponent and see if that carries you?
No, I was hoping my abstract design was going to win. I just didn't do a good enough job of it.
That's the problem with abstract. It takes time, right?
Yeah, and it takes You know, the cool thing about doing modern, weird designs, like simplistic yet complicated, simple and complicated at the same time, is difficult to achieve in a short amount of time. People don't realize it looks simple, doesn't mean it is. In fact, to get it to look clean and simple sometimes is much more complicated than to look busy. Make one up. It's yours. Nobody contests it. It's yours. All right, it's coming along. We just got a few more uprights to put in, and then we can start connecting them overhead and get to this point where we're finally going to see what the vision was. You got the level. All right, and finally, one of the many things on the list are done. We took this pergola and we turned it into more of a gazebo. We added a deck, we added some railings, and changed the privacy screen and the whole concept into 2x2s instead of 2x6s. It looks a lot more finished. It's a little bit busy, but I like it. So yeah, one more thing down and a few more things to go.